would like to have participation from both the novices as well as the Upasika. Right? Okay. So, who would like to come up first? If you come up first, you have more to explain. You have something to talk. If you come out last, then everybody talked already. But however, your experiences would certainly be different. Don't you think so? No? Our audience, would you like to listen to them? By way of their experiences, and afterwards, if you have any questions that you would like to ask about meditation, right, then you can post it to us, right, to them, and see. Right, now, who would like to come forward? Good evening, Venerable Mahinda, Sister Sumitra, Novices and Upasikas, and all audience. Coming here wasn't my idea in the first place, but my mom asked me to come here, but then yeah, my mom persuaded me to come, but then so why not try it out, and I'm here, and I found out I've learned a lot. My mind's calmer. So any questions so far? Meditation is a new topic to me, so the first time I came here, I was like quite lost. So the first week in fact, I was just going on with other people, just hearing the talk. And after that I find that I'm beginning to develop, and my mind began to develop to a higher stage. What else do I see? I really need it. Okay. The first thing they taught us here was contemplation on the 32 parts of the body. That is to make us realize how impure our body was. Usually, I don't really do that. What we do is like, we just take parts of our body like the hair of the head. We imagine taking it out, putting it in front of us, trying to see how impure it is. Then after that we go to like hair of other parts of the body. So put it in front of us, picture it, imagine, see how impure it is. And then we also try to see how impermanent it is. It grows and we have to cut it, it gets smelly and all this. So we try to see how impure our body is. And then we go to like our nails, our teeth. My experience on the 32 part was, let me tell you my worst experience, okay? It's like the heart. Usually you don't see the heart as impure, so what you do is you just picture it in front of you, taking a knife, cutting it up into pieces and see what's the result. So, and then if you want to see how impure it is, furthermore, take for instance your kidneys, cut it out, see what comes out of it. Try to imagine to smell it or something like that. Just imagine what you will really see out of your kidneys. And then once you begin to realize how impure your body is, then you will really realize the nature of your body. And that's what they're trying to teach us over here. That do not get attached to your body. And then after that, after usually doing the contemplation, we do metta, loving kindness. And they teach us here how to send loving kindness to all human beings. That's the north, south, east, west, above and below. It's not only human beings, it's all living beings. And then after that, we go into meditation, how to develop our mind. They teach us how to concentrate, build up our concentration at a one-pointedness, so that we don't have a scattered mind thinking of everything at once. And from there, if we really put a lot of effort into it, we might get something out of the good effort we made. And that's when you go on developing your jhana, first, second, third, and fourth. In fact, what we do every day is we wake up early in the morning about 5 o'clock, and then we come down for prayers, and then we listen to Dharma talks. We are very fortunate to have a Venerable Amata Gavisi to help us and to guide us in our meditation. A lot of tips were given, and it was pretty good. By now, most of us should have had enough experience in meditation. Yeah. After developing our jhanas, we will go next to Vipassana, which is insight knowledge. Insight knowledge which enables you to see the true nature of the thing. For instance, when we look at an object, we look at it as impermanent. It is subjected to constant change. It is unsatisfactory and it has no self. So once you go into Vipassana, you try to get the message is there's no me, there's no you, and there's no him. Because if you're still thinking of there's an I, that means you're still attached to your body, and you're trying not to get attached to our body. We practice Nama Rupa, that is mind and body, and we try to look at it this way. It's like a thought has to arise first before a body action can be done. So we try to look at it this way, right? Before, like when we are walking, before we take the next step, we have to realize that a thought has to come up first before we make the next step. So that is the same as cause and effect. So the mind will be the cause and the action will be the effect. And once we realize that, we go into more detailed things like rising and falling. That is, everything rises and falls at that moment. How you realize that? Okay, thank you. Good the term. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Right. Now, the thing is this, that what we try to make them do is this, upon whatever they have experienced and realized, to try to communicate, to try to express themselves out. Sometimes, not everybody can explain, not everybody can express what they realize. It's very difficult to understand. So, you have to bear with us for a little while until they get used to. And first we would like somebody to come and explain the practice, right? Explain the practice, and then after that, how they practice, the difficulties that they encounter. These are the things that you can talk about. Difficulties that you encounter, and also how you manage to overcome them, right? And it's good to start with what made you join this novitiate program like that? Why not we have one Upasika. Yes, go. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Brahman Mahinda, Sister Sumitra, Novices, Upasikas, brothers and sisters. My name is Poiling. The first time I met Sister Sumitra and Brahman Mahinda was at a retreat in Uluyam. And I still remember Sister Sumitra asking me why I wanted to meditate. And the next question she asked me was whether I know about dukkha. And I remember telling her I don't know what dukkha is. But after these 2 weeks, I do know what dukkha is all about. So what I will try to do now is to explain to you what we've done for the past 2 weeks. I think the first thing that we had to do is to learn concentration, to come to one-pointedness, and then after that we were given instructions to go further into the first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana, and then the fourth jhana. And let me tell you, we are very glad that there's only 4 jhanas and not more than that. But there are more than that, Reverend Mahinda says, but we are glad that there's only that 4 that we have to do because, boy, it was really very difficult. From one to the other. When all of us came, we were all very excited and we wanted to get into these 4 jhanas very fast, So every time we get a slight progress and we run to Sister and say, hey, I've seen this. And Sister say, no, you have to practice some more. You have to be more patient, So it was a real struggle. At least for me, it was a real struggle. The 4 jhanas was a real struggle. And for some, it was easier, for some more difficult. And for some that has not done the 4 jhanas, I still think that they have made a good effort to build the foundation for further practice later on. And then the next step, after we've done the 4 jhanas, our mind is pretty stable, and we have to go on to the vipassana practice. The first thing I remember that I was asked to do was to look for nama, rupa, and then cause and effect. So, I've been to Dharma classes, so I know what nama is. Nama is the mind, and what rupa is. Rupa is the, the 4 elements, what we see, what we, our body. And I thought, what is this nama and rupa? So I went around the whole compound, looking at everything and said, rupa, nama, nama, rupa, rupa, nama. And finally it came to me that what I see is rupa, and what actually sees it is the mind, and that is the nama. And it stops at that, no more thoughts. After that is no more thoughts. It's just rupa and nama. The thoughts just stop at that. And then after that, it was the cause and effect. And I went around sitting and then listening and looking. And then I heard a car passing by. And when the car passed by, I could see that the noise of the car was the cause, and the effect was my head turned to listen to the car. So that was, for me, cause and effect. And the next thing was the rising and falling. That was pretty difficult for me. I had to go around for about 1 day looking for rising and falling. Though the signs were all there, I couldn't read it. So Sister Sumitra was asking me, you saw it, did you see anything else? Did you realize anything? I said, no, I just saw, something rise and fall, but I haven't really realized it. In fact, I had a pretty frightening experience. I remember running down to Reverend Mahinda, telling him that I saw myself, my own image in a mirror, and the mirror my own image like moving back and forth, and that really frightened me. But I think my own body was trying to tell me that it is all impermanent, that all of us are rising and falling, and we are all impermanent. That was what I realized. After that, we went on to the next step is we had to silence our mind. We have to make sure that our minds we don't let our thoughts run, and that is the most difficult experience I had. It was at that moment we realized that we are not here to attain anything, but we are here to let go. We are here to let go our delusions of the self, our attachment to our jobs, to our ideas, to our concepts. So it was a process of letting go. When we first came, I had the wrong conception that I come here to try to achieve, to attain something. It wasn't that. I realize now that it is a whole process of letting go. It's just a process of letting go. So thank you very much.
Just for the information of those who have come and not understanding the meaning of sadhu. When you say sadhu, it's a term of rejoicing, right? Now we are inviting these novices, upasikas to come to try to share their experiences, what they have had during the past almost 2 weeks or 12 days. Then, so when they come up with a sadhu, 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 they say good, rejoice, excellent, 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 like that. Okay? Now, I know, but Samanera? Dhammisara, Samanera Dhammisara from Ipoh. I don't know Mahinda, Sister Sumitra, and Novices, and Upasika, and all the orange. At first I'd like to tell you why I come to this retreat. In fact, before I come, Reverend Mahinda was in Ipoh for about 4 days. And there I learned from him, I get a little bit of instruction from him on how to do the meditation on this breathing, concentration through the breathing method. So after that I practiced on my own, and in fact within just 1 or 2 days I realized that I can concentrate and go to the very calm state, which he termed as jhana. So I realized that there must be something truth in it that prompted me to come to this retreat. But the method that I used early on was quite haphazard because I didn't really follow instruction, and probably because I'm too eager to realize what is the next step after the first jhana. So probably I didn't go through the first jhana repeatedly many times enough. So I just go in first jhana, then second jhana, and third jhana. And in fact, after I come here, I find that the jhana that I went in fact, is the second jhana, it's not the first jhana, which takes me some time to correct when I come over here. Well, first I'll start from the very beginning that we are instructed to do the body parts, the 32 parts of the body, which for me, initially for the first few days, I don't see anything disgusting about the body. In fact, I quite like my body. And later on one day, I saw one of my roommates when he stand up with a sarong a bit higher, and I see his leg is full of all the body's hair, the curly hair. And I started to think and started to look at my own hair of the leg. I see that it is not that pretty after all. Then I start to think deeply that where the thing that strikes me the most is intestine. It's a big, what do you call it, the large intestine. this is okay, but I used to come to my mind is those very soft and watery feces, which make me quite disgusted. And the next thing I realized, as I started to contemplate more, I started to realize that I have so many dead objects on my own body. Like for example, my hair, my fingernails, my teeth, and certain part of the bone. They are practically dead objects. The hair that grow on our body, which every day we look into a mirror and we try to comb and make it so nice. And if you really look into it, you find that it is essentially the dead object. It's only the end of the hair which is still alive. The rest are all dead. So I was start wondering why we spend so much time on the dead body, right? And also I realized that even though we are still alive, certain part of our body already are dead. So from there, you find that the attachment to the body started to wane off, started to decrease. And the effect is, this helps us to reduce quite a lot of pain during our meditation sitting. Initially, when I come over, probably I can only sit about half an hour, the most. I feel very painful. I have to move about or I have to get out. But after contemplating on this, I find that the pain reduced to quite a great extent. At least I can sit for 45 minutes to an hour. So probably I'm not very sure that is the effect of the meditation, but anyway, that is the effect I had. And from the contemplation of the body, parts of the body, then we move on to metta. Before I come here, I do metta sort of simply. I don't really know that I have to send out a thought. I just say, may all beings be well and happy. Just thought of sort of we talk to anybody else. Just we talk to a friend, may you be well and happy. But actually, when I come here, then I started to, after contemplation, then I started to do the metta. As we send out metta, in fact, we can feel there's a energy surging in the mind. That if you say that, may all beings be well and happy, may all beings in front of me be well and happy, we can actually feel there's a force sending out the message of well and happy in front of all the beings. If you were to think that for all the beings very far away from you, then probably your mind will travel to that far corner to send the message. That's what I feel. And in fact, after doing the metta meditation, then we go on to the development of samadhi. That's a concentration, a one-pointedness. For samadhi, and then for first 2 days, it was quite difficult for me. I don't know what's the reason, probably because of the schedule and honor ceremony around. So probably I can't concentrate much. In fact, I have done that a little bit just before I come, but the methods I use are not systematic. I just went in the jhana whenever I like and I come out. But when I come over here, I have to follow first jhana for 5 minutes, and then I come out. Then go in for another 5 minutes, then come out again, 5 minutes, come out again, and later on maybe I go in and stay for 10 minutes, then come out. After we have mastered the first jhana, then we went on to the second jhana. On the first jhana, if we can stay on the first jhana for 10 to 15 minutes, then we move on to the second jhana. And the second jhana, we will stay there again, we do the same thing, 5 minutes, then come out to the first jhana, then go back to the normal level, then go up again. So we have to repeat it for quite some time. And in fact, in the second jhana, during
one of the meditation period I did it for the second jhana, I forgot to tell myself that I'm going to go in the second jhana for only 10 minutes. I forgot. So I just stay there, and when I wake up, it's already 1 hour. So I was in that second state for 1 hour without realizing it. Because for the second jhana, when you go in, actually, there's no pain at all. Completely no pain. But the moment I get out from the jhana, I cannot move, but because my leg was numb. Because I don't realize that I have been in it for an hour. Then after this experience, the subsequent days, I had problem of getting into even the first jhana. That I struggle for the whole day, which can't even get into the first jhana. And then I have to go and approach the Venerable Amata for help. What he did is, he just touched my head and moved a few rounds on it. And he instructed me to sit in front of him. What I heard from him is say, it's good, you should be able to do it. Then I sit in front of him for 5 minutes. And where I can reach first jhana and second jhana. So this Venerable Amata, probably he has some power there. And after touching the head, I just can't go in. And that comes to the practicing of the third jhana. For the third jhana, we have to concentrate actually on to let our mind to see one single spot just above the upper lip, just below the nose, but on the upper lip. So that also is quite difficult for me, because I can fix on the point for about, let's say, 1 or 2 minutes, and then I find the point seems to travel elsewhere, and I realize it, I don't know where the point is. In fact, that is quite a struggle until I seek the help of the Gautama Buddha, the statue or the site under the Bodhi tree, where I stare into the statue, where I notice that in the statue there, the spot below the nose is very prominent. The one nearest to the right hand side, where we do the puja. See, the spot is very prominent. So I imagine myself and I tell myself, please help me to locate this point. So I imagine that the spot on the Buddha statue transfer onto my own nose. Yes, I did it, and I close my eyes and see the spots on my own nose, below my nose. Then after that, I come back for meditation, come back for practice. I find it's so easy. It's so easy to see the point. And from there, I developed the third jhana. And from the third jhana, then we went up to the fourth. The fourth jhana is actually a stage where you have nothing to see. There probably is, there's nothing there. You don't even realize your body exists. So there's an experience which makes you realize that what Buddha has taught is nothing but the truth. Because just imagine yourself sitting there and suddenly realize that you are aware you are there, but you don't see your body. You don't feel your body. You don't even feel your breath. You are just there. Where? I don't know where else. I just realized that I'm there, but without a body. So that is the jhana we practice. So after the jhana, we went on to the Vipassana meditation, where I was instructed to do the mind and Nama, Rupa, mind and body. So the first thing I do is to follow, I follow my movement of the legs and the hand, where every time before you move your leg, let's say, you have to realize that there's an intention for you to move before your body can move. Or for example, you want to open the door. You have to realize that there's an intention to instruct your hand to move before your hand can move. But initially, you find that it's very difficult. Because it's always after opening the door that I realize that my mind instructed it. And you have to follow the footstep, that we do. We lift up the legs and we move. That also is quite difficult for me. So probably some of my friends here will notice me. Sometimes I walk very fast, sometimes I slow down, sometimes I stop, sometimes I move backwards. Well, anyway, to move backwards is a very clear way for me to see the mind is instructing the body to do something. Probably when you move, we are not used to moving backwards. So if you want to move backwards, you will notice that there is something giving instruction for you to move backwards before your leg can move. So from there, then I realized that our forward movement, that we move forward so easily, is because of our habit. We are so used to moving forward, but we are not used to moving backward. So when you move backward, you can see there is some instruction given to your legs to lift up and move backward. Now, dear audience, you can practice it, you can try it out. But if you move forward, it's very difficult. Initially, it's very difficult. But after you get used to it, then you find it will be quite easy. In the sense that your mind probably something like stick onto your legs. So the moment you move fast, your mind will follow very fast, your mind will be fast, react fast. Then you realize that there's something instructing you to move. So there's the mind and body aspect of it. Then we have the cause and effect. The cause and effect, in fact, what I heard about cause and effect is the crying of the crow around here. There's so many crows around here, so I just close my eyes, and the sound will come to you. Straight away you realize that the sound arises and falling off. The sound is the cause, the effect is the hearing that we have. That is the cause and effect that I practice. And mind and body also, as we practice more, you realize that every movement you're doing is cause and effect. In fact, when you are eating, every moment of your eating process is cause and effect. The first is your hand have to go and take the food. So the instruction is given by the mind for the hand to move and take the food. And lift it out, put in your mouth. And your mind have to give instruction to the mouth to chew the food. So every movement up and down of your jaws is actually instructed by the mind. So that's experience I have for the mind and body. And from mind and body, then we go to rising and falling. The rising and falling. Rising and falling, which I practice, the method I use is I use the leg, I look at the motion of the leg. The leg lifting up, then going down. So it's rising and then falling, rising and falling. And after practice for some time, you realize that every movement that you make is actually rising and falling. Like for example, you are lifting up your hand. You're lifting up your hand from the very bottom that you start lifting your hand. The rising and falling keeps keeps happening all the time. For example, you lift up from 1 inch from the floor, that's rising and falling. Then you move up to the second inches, it's rising and falling also. The first inches already passed away. So that every moment you move up from floor level to this level, let's say, it's already millions of rising and falling happening there. So that applies to every part of every other part of the body. That is the rising and falling. So after you have developed this to sufficient time, you start to realize that everything, you look at everything is rising and falling, rising and falling. Until one day I sat on the chair and I heard those sounds. Those construction workers are doing some constructing work and they're chiseling something. In fact, they are quite fast. The chiseling sound are quite fast. But somehow it struck me, because I'm in Chinese educator, so I use the word sen zi. It means rise is actually birth. I use sen. And then the other one, the passing away, is actually dead. Because if I use English word, it takes some time, it's longer time. Rising, falling, it's quite difficult. The times is long. If I use the Mandarin word, it's just sen zi. See, the time is shortened by half. And that enabled me to hear the rising and falling of the chiseling sound on the construction site. It's very fast. So I just repeat, sen zi, sen zi, sen zi, sen zi. And I sit there, and suddenly I find that something inside me starts to rise. Some force inside me starts to rise. And it keep on rising, and then it stops somewhere. So after that, I have an interview with Reverend Mahinda. He told me to observe it. So the second time I come back, I sit down and observe the things. I think the force, instead of actually Reverend Mahinda instructed me to see whether the force will also be sense or rising and falling or not. But when I sit down, I find that the force doesn't die. It doesn't go down. It keeps on rising. It keeps rising and come up from the head, from the top of the head. And suddenly the next moment you feel that you experience something that you never experienced for my past 40 years. I experienced something that happened, some feeling that I never experienced before. And that in fact lasted for quite a while, for about half an hour. And after that I went back to Reverend Mahinda, and he instructed me to do other things. Okay. So that is the feelings. Until you have to tell yourself that I want to stop experiencing this feeling, otherwise this feeling will keep on coming to you. So we have to stop, make a wish to stop with that feeling. And after that, we went on to the next step, that is silencing of the mind, which I'm still struggling with it. I haven't finished. Yeah. So that's my experience. Thank you.
Only today I know what they are doing. All the time we have been giving them instructions, and we do not have, because there are so many of them, but we do not have the time to really ask them exactly what they do. Only this evening I have this opportunity to hear. They take this instruction and they did some concoction. You have heard from the young novice what he did. We tell them to go observe the different parts of the body as prescribed in the formula, in a very standard formula, 32 parts of the body. Starting from the hair of the head, Visualize the hair of the head, observe it as if it's in front of you, and then contemplate on it. Contemplate on this hair of the head and see. But once you will contemplate and observe it, if you remove the hair from your scalp and place it before you, in front of you, you will find that it's not so beautiful anymore. It is just like some long strings and threads and then observe and contemplate how this hair is of the nature to grow and fall. Grow and fall. How much of your hair has fallen off? And what is this hair? It is just elements, earth elements. How much of your hair has already fallen from the time you were born until now? Where is your hair? All the hair that has grown has gone down somewhere, isn't it? Are the hair yours? Absolutely. Are you the absolute owner of that hair? No. And if you contemplate a little longer, if you don't wash, sometimes you don't wash your hair for a few days, what happens? Dirt. And you collect the grease at the base of your hair and start to form all kinds of dandruff and so on. This is how you see the impurities, the loathsomeness, the unclean nature of the body. Trying to see at least one part of the body. After you're able to observe this manner, you proceed to another part of the body, such as the hair of the body on other parts of the body, and observe its nature. Visualize it in front of you. Now, it's a very interesting thing what the other novice had said, how he observed it. Everyone, each one of them, each one of us, when we practice, we will take certain instructions, but how we practice it, we will not practice exactly as instructed. We are bound to move a little bit. I was instructed, not by this venerable, but some other masters that taught me to watch the body, the hair of the body. He said, just look here, your hair. So I looked at here. But I looked and looked and looked, it did not do very much. So when I shaved my head, I removed the hair, I kept it so that I could see it. I kept on seeing it. Nothing happened. I kept it for days and weeks. Now I'm telling you, when I was practicing in the forest and kept on accumulating until I saw it is very dirty. And then, even then, sometimes I thought I cannot see my own hair. Difficult to see my own hair. I went to the extent of taking my bowl cover. There was no mirror there in the forest. So I took the bowl cover and tried to look at the hair. Then the thought came, why not I look at other people's hair? So I started to look at the other monks, and some of the younger monks, they have very nice black hair, and then older monks, gray and whitish hair, and then came the lay people, their hair. So I observed theirs, and this is how I contemplated on hair. And this is what he did too. He did not see his hair first, he saw the hair and the legs of another novice. Then he realized how ugly it was. Then he reflected on his own, and he see that it is tricky. Now once you start observing one part, the nature, the true nature of it, then when you start contemplating, it will extend to the other parts as well. The hair of the head, the hair of the body. Then we go on to contemplate the nails. As if you visualize your fingernails and toenails and put it before you. Are they very clean? And what is the nature? It's of the nature to grow. It grows. And you have to cut it and throw it away. If you don't cut it, what happens? Sometimes it grows back into the flesh and it gives you a problem. You collect a lot of dust. And see the true nature of this. They are dead cells. So you cut and remove it. That's part of your body, remember? Huh? So you go on observing not only the nails but also your teeth. Every day you look into the mirror but you only look the front part. That's why you get the impression that you're good looking. The next time you look, open up everything and try to see the inside part as well. And see some has fallen off, some are blank areas. And what have gathered around it, the dirt, plague, and the tartar and whatever has gone out there. And if you don't wash it for a few days, not a few days, maybe one day, what happened? The smell. Now this is the nature of the teeth, your teeth. So contemplate in this manner and see how it's of the nature to grow and fall down. You cannot stop it. Much as you wish to have the full set of teeth, but how many of you have full set of teeth? It falls off. That is the nature of this is the reality of the body. So you put it one side, you lump all these things, and then you contemplate on your skin, the skin of your body, as if you skinned. Many of you have learned how to skin some animals. I do not know what animals you skin them. But skin yourself as if you are like a gunny sack or a polythene bag. Is that right? And observe the skin, moist, greasy, patches here and there, freckles, spots, birthmarks. Is it beautiful? No. Put it one side, lump it one side. See how the skin, the cells die. And this is how we contemplate one by one. These are the first 5 things. The externalities, the external part of the body, the hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. Then we go further. Under the skin, what do you find? Flesh. Now start contemplating the flesh. As if you remove your flesh, muscles, biceps, triceps, and quadriceps, and all the other muscles, and put it in front of you. Just like you eat the chicken, I do not know what fried chicken, huh? As if you remove your flesh, muscles, biceps, triceps, and quadriceps, and all the other muscles, and put it in front of you. Just like you eat the chicken, I do not know what fried chicken, huh? And you put all the flesh for you. How do you look? How does it look? Now you can see the real beauty of your flesh. Right? And go on the sinews,
the ligaments, the tendons, and bones. After you have removed your flesh, skin, flesh, now you are left with bones. Now can you visualize the skull and the bones? You have a skeleton, observe it. Very nice, beautiful. If not, then you put it one side. Still you cannot see. Now remove the bone marrow and put it another side and visualize and see it. After you have done this, then you go on to the organs of the body. Your kidney, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, then your lungs, intestine, small intestine, large intestine, the mesenteries, stomach, and then the excrement, the feces that is in the large intestine. And then you observe the brain. Then you go on from the solid parts to observe the liquid parts of the body. Bile, phlegm, and blood, pus, cells in your body. Then the sweat, the saliva, the grease, your urine. Observe these different parts and see. Lump them up before you, put them before you, and then watch and observe. This is how. This is the training of the mind, this is the contemplation by which the mind begins to see. We train the mind to see the reality of the body by analyzing this body into its different parts. However, although the formula is 32 parts, we tell them, whichever part that appears clear to you, some parts you may not understand what it is about, then leave it out. Those parts that are clear to you, you do that more. So that is how it has resulted from the novice experience. Instead of going all the 32 parts, he took out his heart, obviously the most important one, took out his heart. Instead of looking at that, could not see the disgusting nature. So in his mind, he took a knife and cut it into pieces and saw the blood oozing out and all that. Then he started to see its disgusting nature. So he goes on to see the other parts. Now that is his method, that is his way. Whichever way you see it. But so that the mind, as long as the effect is this, that the mind begin to see this nature of the body, once the mind see the true nature, that it is changing. It is not satisfactory. There is no beauty in it. And it is only constantly growing and dying, growing and dying. Then the mind will become more detached. It will not totally detach immediately, but becomes less attached to the body. Once you are less attached to the body, then those thoughts, the habitual thoughts of clinging to body, that is how we reduce the sensual desires in the mind. We reduce the arising of sensual desires, of clinging to the body. And also, sometimes you feel the pain and you have fear. Why? Because it's attachment to the body. But once you begin to realize that, and your mind is detached from the body, then pain also does not matter. You can take it, you can accept it, you can observe the feeling just as a feeling phenomena. The body is not yours, like that. So this is how this contemplation leads to, the importance of this contemplation is to reduce the tendencies of clinging to body. And it is this deep attachment, deep-rooted attachment
attachment to your body that has resulted you to be born with a body, right? In this samsaric existence, beings are born and have their bodies, different shape, different size, different colors. Why? What is the reason? What is the cause? Because of what? Karma. Yes, because of karma. Because of the karmic tendencies, because of your action, through your thought, your speech and action. Every moment do you realize that you are molding your body. So, your body, the body that you possess, they are past karma. They are result of the past karma. In other words, whatever actions that you have done by way of thought, by way of speech, and by way of body action, that this is what you have, you are the result of this action. This body, this framework, this is what. Don't blame your father and mother for having a flat nose or, you know, it is because that is how there is an art of studying your face. What do you call that? Physiognomy. Is that right? Physiognomy. By studying the face, you can understand the character to a certain extent of the person. Not only the face, certain parts of your head, face, your ears, your eyes, your nose. It tells a certain story about what you have done and what your tendencies are. Right? So this is karma. And when you realize this, so if you want to be beautiful, you want to be handsome, you know what to do. How? What to do? Yes. Stop pulling long faces. Stop making faces at others. And start smiling. Then your muscles will be more relaxed, right? And sending out, practice metta, loving kindness, as you said. This loving kindness will make you become more radiant. So this practice of the 32 parts of the body is for you to realize, for your mind to realize the true nature of your body. Afterwards, in case you have developed it to that extent that you have certain aversion for the body, then we advise you to complement this practice with metta or loving kindness. So now you start radiating loving kindness with first you start within you. That may this being, may this body be well, be happy, be healthy, be free from sufferings, free from sickness, right? Free from fear, free from anxiety. May I be free from fear, free from anxiety. May I live in peace and happiness. Have these good thoughts in you. After that, you radiate these thoughts just all around you, all around, all beings around you. And then feel, radiate out in all the different directions, in the north, in the south, in the east, in the west, above and below, so that it covers all the directions, that all beings are covered, human beings as well as all other beings, seen or unseen, far or near, radiate that. When you radiate out, you feel your aura of love, the aura of peace and calm, extending out to all these different places. You can start with just radiating out from where you are and fill your whole room, fill the whole hall with your thoughts of loving kindness, having these good thoughts for all the other practitioners, all the people who are around here first, and then extend it out a little bit to all within this monastery, premises of this monastery, and then all the surrounding areas, and then the whole town, the whole city, the whole country, and then extending out to the whole world, and beyond this world, to all the planetary systems and all beings in all realms of existence, like that. Step by step, your mind begins to suffuse out and reach out to all those places. When you do that, your mind becomes even calm and peaceful. Now, this practice of metta, the formula that we gave you is more than just metta. It goes beyond metta, but to have also karuna, compassion, mudita, which is altruistic joy or sympathetic joy. Metta is the thought of love, of well-being for others, that all beings be well and happy. It is a good wish. It's a wish for others, for all beings to be well, to be happy. That is it's a thought. That is metta. And then karuna is the thought of compassion. The thought which you direct towards some beings who are less fortunate than you are, who are suffering, and you wish that they be free from suffering. Anyone who is ill, free from that illness, free who are in grief and sorrow, be they be free from sorrow, free from grief, like that. And the wish for others to succeed, to progress in their practice, that is one of mudita, one of you share the joys, the happiness of others. You overcome jealousy, envy. Now, this practice helps you. The force of metta alone helps you to reduce the tendencies of anger, the tendencies of aversion, when you wish yourself well and happy. In fact, it is a practice to do it, when your mind is well, when your mind is happy, you build up this thought force, that this body, this being, be well, be happy, and feel a sense of well-being and happiness. And naturally from within, you will just radiate out. Then, when it happens, after you have developed these tendencies again and again, and it becomes a habit in you, as soon as you get angry, as soon as you get upset, your mind naturally brings out this thought, may I be well, may I be happy, free from anger, free from enmity, free from grudge. Then your mind is free from that. Anytime you have worries, anxieties, then the thought which you have so implanted, impressed again and again in your mind, will just flow out and say, may I be free from this anxiety, free from fear, like that. This is how you use the mind and free yourself from these tendencies, defiling tendencies of anger. So metta is the practice whereby you reduce anger, aversion. And then, of course, as a combination of that, we have also karuna, compassion, to wish others free from suffering. It helps you to reduce your cruel tendencies. Sometimes you have some wicked, cunning thoughts, that when you are angry, you wish harm for others. So that thought, and as you fill your minds with this karuna, wishing others suffering, you would find it would become difficult for you after your novitiate program to go out because the thought suddenly will realize that may you be well and happy. And how can you shoot them anymore? You see. So this is what this kind of contemplation helps to transform your whole being. So these two practice we instruct the yogis, the practitioners, first to practice this and reduce the tendencies of craving, of sensual desire, and reduce the tendencies of aversion to a certain extent. After which, then your mind becomes relatively more steady. Then you focus your attention on the breathing in and out. Watch your breath in and out at the most conspicuous point, which is just above your upper lip, just below the septum. And just observe the breath as if the breath goes in and out, and breathe in normally. And if the breath becomes very subtle, you cannot feel the breath, you cannot observe the in and out breathing, then leave it alone, let go of the breathing, don't be afraid. That means to say that your mind has become so calm, so peaceful, body becomes so relaxed, doesn't need so much of heavy breathing, no, becomes more subtle. So just allow it to flow with it. Then, but keeping your mind at that one spot, at that one area where your mind is so applied, the attention at, then if there is any breathing that comes, then just observe the breath again, in and out, in and out. The watching of this breath in and out, observing this breath in and out, will keep your mind alert, because your mind has something to watch. If you just fix your attention at one point, you gain certain calmness. And after you gain calmness, your mind becomes very bored, nothing to do, and you go to sleep. Now you have certain thing to watch the breath, and you are alert, and you watch the breath. That is what you call sustaining your attention at that spot, watching the breath in and out. There is no need to note them, but you just become aware. Sometimes they're fast, sometimes slow, sometimes long, sometimes short. If you can notice, then this is how your mind is occupied with it, with the breath, and you see the nature of the breath while you breathe in and breathe out at one spot, at one area. Then this is when you start to build up the concentration. As soon as you begin to build up the concentration at that point, naturally that energy, the mental energy which is concentrated there, must naturally develop. How does it develop? It develops in an upward vertical direction. Of course, if you watch keenly, if you observe with your mind, not with your eyes, if you watch the development of the concentration, then you will be able to observe the development of your mind. Of course, if you are distracted, you start observing feelings in other parts of your body. Right? Then your mind is distracted from that. Then you will not be able to see. You will not be able to become aware of the mental development. But if you are able to focus your mind at one point, and from experience we find that in many cases, those people, if they can sit for half an hour to 40 minutes, then we find that there will be sufficient concentration. And if there are no distracting thoughts, although there may be a few thoughts coming to them, but they can easily return their attention to that object of meditation, which is the breath, breathing in and breathing out at one point. And when when you are able to observe that there are not much distraction, then you find the mind developing up. And once you observe this phenomena, sitting after sitting, so that you know it is not your mind conditioning it, to test it, you sit again, and then after you have a few sittings, now you are fairly confident now that your mind is developing. So here you come to know that your concentration is now getting matured, becoming matured. Now you are ready to enter absorptions. They talk about the jhanas. Jhanas means a mental state where your mind gets deep into concentration. And for the purpose of, we explained, there are the different levels, different degrees of absorption. We talk about, the Buddha explains absorption or jhana in terms of Patama jhana, Dutiya jhana, Tatya jhana, Chatutta jhana. And this is how the Buddha defined what perfect concentration or right concentration means. If one has right concentration or perfect concentration, then one falls within these realms of first, second, third, fourth jhana. Mind is developed to that level. There are higher jhanas. Yes. There are, the mind after you develop the fourth jhana, it naturally, if you stay a longer period, it will naturally develop to the fifth, sixth, seventh, up to the eighth, and there is also a ninth jhana. But we call the four jhanas as Rupa jhana. Rupa jhana, Rupa means form. That means this absorption, mental absorption, has arisen as a result of the mind getting concentrated in certain form, in certain, like breathing in and breathing out. Breath is a form, is Rupa. And there are many other objects, which there are altogether about 40 different objects, how the mind can take and observe to develop that absorption, mental absorption. But after we develop the mind, this Rupa jhana, the next step is the mind goes on to develop what you call Arupa jhana. Arupa jhana is where your mind gets absorbed in formlessness, such as what? Space. Space is formless, right? There is no form in space. Space is formless. So the mind can be conditioned to just spread out in space, an infinite space, akasa. Then consciousness, infinite consciousness, there is no form in that. Then the sphere of nothingness, and neither perception nor non-perception. These are the higher jhanas or the arupa jhanas. But these jhanas are all conditioned states of mind, just as even the four jhanas are also conditioned. But for the purpose of developing insight, for the purpose of developing wisdom, to penetrate in order to understand the realities of life, the reality of the world around us, we do not need to go up to that higher jhanas. That is why the Buddha, after practicing all these different levels, the Buddha said, as long as you can develop up to this jhana, you have your perfect concentration, first, second, third, fourth. And then after that, bring down the mind to the normal functioning level and contemplate. By now, after you have been able to develop your absorption, first, second, third, fourth, and bringing it down to third, second, first, and normal, your mind is pretty well controlled, under control. That is how you start your mind to become steady. And with this steady mind, you would be able to dwell at any phenomena, mental, physical phenomena, for a longer duration and be able to penetrate and to see its true nature. What is its true nature? What is nature? You observe. The word vipassana. Vipassana comes from this word pasati. Pasati means to see, to observe. The prefix vi implies in a special manner, to observe in a special manner. What special manner? To observe in terms of characteristics of anicca or impermanence or change. Therefore you train the mind now, after you have developed the absorption and bring down your mind to normal functioning mind, you train the mind to observe every phenomena, be it mental or physical, in its true nature of anicca, of change. How do you observe this? Rising and falling. How do you observe rising and falling? What is it that rise and fall? Before you observe phenomena rising and falling, you must understand this mental and physical phenomena. So we give you the lesson of observe mind and body, mental and physical things first. So the first lesson of vipassana, developing your vipassana, the first lesson of it is to observe your mind and body. How you observe your mind and body? By observing your activities, the day-to-day activities, keeping your mind is as much possible mindfulness, clear mindfulness, total mindfulness, and you have in continuity. You keep yourself, that's why the noble silence is important, so that your mind does not get distracted, your mind is able to observe everything that happens. Now, as you move slowly, as you speak slowly, as you go on a bit slower, you begin to observe that as you stand, you find that there is a thought from the sitting posture. If you want to move, you will find first there is a desire, there is an intention to move, then your body moves. That desire, that intention is called a thought, that is a mental phenomena, a mental process, and the body which moves is a physical phenomena. So you see, again and again, mental and physical, pertaining to this body as well as to outside. What are the outside things? Like the eye that sees form, visual objects in terms of color. That is physical phenomena. But the process of seeing, the process of noticing, of observing that form, that color, that is a mental process. Hearing, the sound that you hear, is a physical phenomena. But your hearing process, the conscious, your ear becoming conscious of that sound, that is a mental phenomena. And similarly, there is your nose, there is odor, there is smell, and your nose smells it. There is the smell or the odor, which is a physical phenomena, and the smelling of it is the mental phenomena. Similarly, the taste, the flavor in the food, which reaches another physical phenomena, the tongue, the taste buds, the base of your tongue, then gives rise to thoughts, gives rise to feeling, good taste, become aware of the taste. Your awareness of the taste, your consciousness of the taste, that's a mental phenomena. And then, as soon as that arises, then the thought is sensed, relays the information, and you have the thought, you want some more. And your hand grabs it. So you see how mind and body function. The whole day through you find the mind and body, and when you can see mind and body, you will be able to see that the mind conditions, how the mind conditions the body. If you want to move, you observe how, before the body moves, there is a thought. Then the body moves. If there is no thought, there is no movement. You test this walking. It's a good exercise when you walk and see. You stand straight. And then, when your mind is silent, you see when there's an intention to move and your body starts to move. Your legs start to move. So you see how the mind conditions the body. Mind is the cause, thought is the cause, body is the effect. And as you go on moving, you see cause and effect, cause and effect. The sound that you hear is the cause, the hearing is an effect. The object that you see is the cause, the seeing is an effect. And if you go further, you will be able to see how, after seeing the thoughts that forms, the thing that you see makes you conscious. What you see, that consciousness conditions, gives rise to an effect, a thought. And that thought becomes a cause to another effect. Your body moves. You turn your head to observe certain things. So this lesson teaches us, makes the mind realize what? Realize that the nature of this being is that we function on the basis of mind and body. Mind and body. That there is no being as such, there is no person as such which is doing whatever work that you do, but it's a process of mind and body and the cycle of cause and effect. Then, when you're able to see mind and body, cause and effect, we tell you, watch rising and falling. What is this rising and falling? See how the thought that has a reason, the intention to move, the thought rise and fall, and your movement also rise and fall. Everything is rising and falling. This is how you develop your mind to see the true nature of things in terms of anicca. That's what we call the vipassana practice. This vipassana practice is when your mind actively observes the phenomena of mind and body in terms of anicca, in terms of change. And when you observe change, you observe the unsatisfactory nature, and that you will begin to realize that there's a quality of change. You find that there is nothing, there is no permanent entity as such that you can cling to. What you term as the self. There is no I, there is no my that can you cling to. It's only a physical, it's a process. So that is how we train the mind, and when you start to develop your mind to observe the true nature, and in terms of anicca, change, then what happens is the mind that dwells on the subject of change, that mind begins to develop insight, wisdom to understand the reality of life, change. And as you develop this insight more and more, your mind gets concentrated, insight gets concentrated. And that's what you again observe another phenomena, how the mind starts to rise up in a vertical direction. This time there's an inward movement of the mind, and you find how when the mind gets fished up to a high level of vipassana, we call that vipassana samadhi, as we differentiate from the samatha samadhi, where you develop the first, second, third, fourth jhana. Now that you have developed the four jhanas and you develop your insight, you begin to develop concentrated insight. It is with this concentrated insight that you are ready, the mind will be ready to penetrate, to see the realities of existence, to see the true nature, to see anicca clearly, realize change as such. This is what the novices has been telling you, trying to tell you a little bit about that experience, how after developing their mind, this is how they realize, how they see anicca as such. We talk about change, we can explain to you that we all change. From young until now, and you grow old, you will nod your head and say, yes, you agree totally that there is change. But do you realize what change is? No. Can you see? Can you observe before you change? No. But when you develop your mind, there are certain things, certain insights that you cannot see with your ordinary state of mind. Concentrate. When you develop your mind to a higher state, then you'll be able to see. Get into deeper concentrations and develop your insight, then you can penetrate. It is just like the focus. When you focus the microscope or telescope, when it is not in focus, you cannot see clearly. You cannot see things clearly. But when you start to focus, get the binoculars or get the telescope in focus, then you'll be able to see those images, those objects very sharp and clear in your mind. That is what this vipassana samadhi is about. Begin to see the true nature of things. So that is how. And upon realizing this, the heights, the depths to the realization, you be able to transform your whole being as such. So little by little, step by step, this is what they say. And the time does not permit me to say very much further, but we will continue this later on. I think as for our audience who have come, and some of you have been coming to look after them, and some of you also have been keeping an eye on and wanting to grab hold of them again, waiting when is the closing ceremony to take them back. Now already they are thinking, the novices and upasikas are thinking of the home already. So still you have these few days. How many more days? 2 more days. Make good use. 1.5 days. Oh, 1.5 days. 24 plus 12. How many hours? 46 hours. That's 36 hours. So you have 36 hours more to go. Make good use of it. You see. Now, within this short period of time, they have developed. But the jhanas or the absorption that we have explained to you, they are actually not deep jhanas. They are just a matter of getting into it and then staying it about 5-10 minutes and coming out. Why do we practice this method? So that the mind does not cling on. Under normal circumstances, If you just sit quietly and focus your mind on one object, you will find that your mind, when your concentration starts to develop, your mind starts to develop, push to the high level, and you just get into deep state of what you call concentration without any knowledge, without any awareness. You get that kind of state of mind where you are like in equanimity and you do not know what has happened. Now, that state of mind, you cannot use your mind. You cannot make use of your mind to consider, to contemplate. So what we do is, instead of developing in that manner, we face it stage by stage through determination. After you have developed sufficient concentration, just program your mind a little bit by making the resolution. Then you see how the mind develops. And then you stop there. Even though it wants to go further, you stop there so that you have a controlling factor here. So you control your mind from going further, in and out for some time. Then another level, in and out. By then, your mind is controlled. Now, the development of this vertical direction, this is the direction how your wisdom develops, how liberation process takes place. That is why we first open, as if we open the channels for development, first, second, third, fourth. After which, as some of you have already realized, that when you develop your insight, when you develop your wisdom, you have a similar upward channel going on. That's what liberation is about. And that is what you find in the pictures of the Buddha. Those who are enlightened, you find the flame of that aura, that power that comes up, that, where you say, relieves, the mind becomes liberated as such, you see. So, we have described to you how, step by step, the mind is able to develop. And Novices are very interestingly giving you some tips in case you want to do, those of you who are doing Nama Rupa. I am sure tonight and tomorrow morning you will see them, instead of walking forward, they'll be walking backwards. And also there will be more novices going around to look at the Buddha image and fixing their mind there. So I think it is enough for the time being, and we'll spend a few minutes to round up this session by just sitting quietly and then sharing the merits that we have acquired on this occasion, and for all our novices and upasikas, all the good work, all the effort that you have